the same time, while this is a downer of a discussion so far talking about reductions, it's important that we also can address needs and program needs of the district for our students. So we're really happy that we do appear very comfortably heading in the direction of a balanced budget, partially because of these reductions, partially because of some other efficiencies that we're working to develop at the district level, but that we can also enhance some programming in some really desired areas. The district has seen increases for a number of years in the number of students needing services for things such as trauma, behavioral intervention, at-risk programming, things like that, and we need to respond to that. So the staffing plan that we're currently developing calls for an increase in some staffing to meet those needs in terms of the types of support services and counseling, school psychology, family support services that can amplify that programming for us. We work very closely, Mrs. Kalis and the People Services Department works very closely with a lot of different community supports, including the police department, county services, and things like that, to provide a real wraparound approach to supporting families and students who have these needs. And an increase in investment by the district in these areas is something that I know county services and the police department would be very supportive of as well. So we're happy to use our resource allocation to beef up even more so that wraparound approach. We are also just in general looking at our allocation of resources for some of our exploratory activities such as music and other activities. We're not talking about reducing any amount of money spent on those activities, but what I've learned is we haven't consistently looked at participation in different programs on an annual basis and allocated resources appropriately. So, for example, the music teachers right now in the 5th grade through 12th grade level are helping me understand all the different types of programming we have, where our participation levels are between choir, orchestra, band at each level, because we haven't adjusted or reallocated or even considered how we allocate those music support services in many, many years. So we really feel, in looking at how other districts do this, we need to each year review participation and allocate same number of dollars, but allocate appropriately for where that participation is. That's a summary of the overview of where our staffing plan is going, and I'm happy to answer any questions right now.
I have a question. Tying this back in with Andy's presentation, does the staffing change affect the net deficit that we are projecting?
Yep. So the staffing plan that I'm talking about, great question, is what would in large part close that $1.3 million gap. So the gap that Andy presented to you is kind of that structural incoming. Here's where we're gonna be if everything stayed the same in terms of how we allocate our resources. My step then is to come in and say, all right, staffing is our largest expense. How do appropriate adjustments based on enrollment impact that $1.3 million? So the staffing plan, in combination with a number of other things we're looking at, are what bring us now where we are confident we are going to fully close that $1.3 million structural, is it a structural deficit? Structural deficit.
That's the statement I was looking for.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we are very confident that that will be closed. We'll present a balanced budget and be able to deliver hopefully an even more successful educational program.
Okay, thank you. I have one other thing. I know sometimes people see a staff raise, like we're going to have the 1.8 raise during times of reducing staff. I'm wondering if you or Don could explain our district philosophy on giving a raise while.
Well, I'll go first on that.
Okay.
With that segment on Andy's table, it's a very high level, all right, let's put a number in, okay? Now we do know what CPI is for the current year, it's 1.81%. So what we wanted to do is we don't know where we're gonna end up in terms of compensation increases, and really, we just make a recommendation to you and you make that approval decision, right? But we knew that we would want to allocate a chunk of money for that opportunity, because we don't wanna say, oh yeah, we're all balanced and by the way, nothing's coming down the road. I know Superintendent Kierkegaard has a philosophy that aligns with my own in terms of compensation in the face of difficult fiscal times. You don't balance the budget by hurting, per se, the people that you're gonna need to deliver your program, right? I mean, we need to continue to retain our high-quality staff, of which we have a ton, and those compensation increases are part of that equation. I think it would be short-sighted of us to say, well, we're losing money, we're just freezing everyone, and now lose these great teachers that we have, and great support staff members and great administrators as well, with that approach. And the superintendent probably would echo a similar philosophy.
Very much so.
But it's something that has been discussed for sure. I mean, you're talking about less staff, but a raise for the ones that are still employed here. It's a difficult balance.
Just one real quick comment, and that is last year we cut about $2 million out of the budget. It's about 1.4. If you look at our senior numbers this year, it's about 580 students. If you look at our kindergarten numbers, it's about 360. We're anticipating about the same number coming in next year. So unfortunately, this isn't the second and final year that you have to consider staffing. That until our enrollment levels off and starts increasing, then we're gonna have to continue to look at the staffing needs based on the enrollment, because if you don't address it each and every year, you're gonna end up with a situation where it is extremely devastating to try to do it at one time. So as you go forward, you really have to do every year, look at how do we come up with a balanced budget and make some difficult decisions. But if we lose a couple hundred kids a year, you can't not adjust the number of people that you're, and that's across the board. It's support staff, it's teachers, it's administrators, it's district level people, it's across the board.
I want to say I'm very proud of the work that the Human Resources Department has done, because we haven't had as systematic of an approach to analyzing this in the past, and we've really come up with, I think, a really good process to accomplish the very difficult task we're talking about that the superintendent is referring to. No, it's not pleasant for anyone to talk about these things, but he's right that if we don't address it on a year-by-year basis, we will end up at a devastating point, and we don't want that to happen.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.